Hey all, Heretic here. Today, patch 34.0.2 drops today, probably about 1 p.m. Eastern. Mobile players, it drops when it drops. There's only so much we can control, but we've got a lot of changes coming up here. As you know, we typically focus only on the Battlegrounds, so I'm sorry, standard wild players, you gotta go elsewhere. I'll give you a couple things if there's updates that aren't just Hearthstone card updates, but otherwise, I don't touch those too much. Let's jump right into the changes. All right, we're going to start with some Battleground generic updates. And this is a dev comment giving you an idea of where they think they are and where they need to be. Now, first, this patch will likely be our final major balance update for the season. With the new season expected to shake up the meta in a big way, we've kept these changes focused on 3 key types: demons, murlocs, and undead. Demons were removing Cultists of Thara and reducing Lord of the Ruins to a +1/+1. This should lower the ceiling of the damage archetype without removing it entirely. We considered nerfing or removing Hawkstride or Herald instead, but decided against it since the card supports other strategies like Beasts. This also has the side benefit of removing Transmuted Bramblewitch, which should cut down on the overall scam potential. So far, I like what they're saying. I don't readily agree with the Hawkstrider because I hate when things trigger before I have any way to counter them. That being said, the other stuff I agree with completely. Murlocs, we've adjusted Young Murk-eye and Azurite Empowerment to reduce the power ceiling of Magic Fin Mycologist strategy. We discussed removing Magic Fin itself, but kept it in because it's an interesting decision and strategy. We'll be monitoring these changes closely. Once again, agree with this completely. It's fun to play the game, but not when you see someone is so far ahead of you, you're like, well, it's turn 13 and it's nice to see my opponent has time traveled from turn 18 with his board to destroy me. So good changes, thank you. Undead, this has been a problem, right? This type has been struggling across the board, so we've applied broad buffs to several cards to help it compete. Other minion changes such as Cold Light Diver, Lost City Looter, All-Seeing Elder, and Fireforge Evoker are targeted at individual outliers rather than entire archetypes. And everything they mentioned there are all true. These are all things that need to be adjusted, and these are all good ways to attack it. Undead are really bad right now. I'm just praying there isn't an overcorrection here, and suddenly undead are ridiculous. So they go from being the last tribe that no one wants to play with the lowest win rate to suddenly first place rolling through lobbies. We'll see. We'll get into all the changes and go into the details and the nitty gritty so you can see it. Make a decision for yourself. We've also made minor adjustments to various heroes and buddies to keep them more in line. We kept these light since hero powers will shift significantly once buddies rotate out, and we'll revisit hero balance next season. We hope you enjoyed the season of Battleground. Big changes are coming to the tavern soon. We can't wait to share more with you. Until then, happy battling. We'll see you next time. Now, I am super excited what these changes are. I'm hoping they're new things and not repackaged old things, but I am super optimistic. It's been a long time since we got something actually meaningfully across the board new, and if we do, I will be very happy. So let's wait and see. Now, we have a lot of buddies that are being changed, but they're only changing their tiers. So I'm just going to throw them up on the screen here. I don't have any stat changes to show you if they're changing their stats. Also, I just know that we're going to have some buddies where their tiers are going up and other buddies where their tiers are going down. As always, if you go into the description of this video, you will find a link to the patch notes. You can go take a look at it and see. Now we're going to dive into some buddy changes, and some of these are pretty significant and others are just little tweaks. Let's talk about this. Elementium Squirrel Bomb. This one is effectively the same. The only difference is going to be now the damage it deals is 4 to a random enemy minion for each mech that died this combat from the previous 2. Not a massive shift, but still okay. I feel like you don't see a lot of mech boards throwing out 1,000,000 death rattles typically anyways, unless it's to the very end of the game, in which case you're not really going to care about this package too much because it's not like you could fit a Titus on the board with this too. So I don't know how relevant this is going to be, but it makes it better. Ice Snarl the Mighty, Rakara's buddy, just gets a tiny change. Now, after a friendly minion kills an enemy, gain +3 health permanently. It used to be 2. It's a little bit of health. It will add up and hopefully make you want to play Rakara. Probably not me, to be honest, but maybe with the right board early enough. Next, we've got Anomaly Changes. Well, first we got Sylvanas Windrunner has been banned from Audience Choice, probably because her hero power giving you a discovery of a minion that died, coupled with the fact that there can be truly insane minions given to you on turn 2, means you don't need Sylvanas in this lobby. It's too damn good, so great with that change. Jim Raynor has been banned from continuing education. I'm assuming that's due to an interaction with his buddy, because cast spells, you get extra upgrades, and with you getting a free one every turn, I guess they feel that's too much. Rockmaster Voon has been banned from Path of the Treasure Seeker, assuming that's because you get the monkey, you copy the monkey, problems arise, stuff like that. Treasure Horde, Scout's Honor, and the Yagaseum have had their appearance rates lowered at high ranks. I don't know if I'm considered a high rank. I mean, I'm sitting right now, I think about 8,500. Treasure Horde, Scout's Honor, and Yagaseum, I do see all the damn time. So I'm hoping that they're lowering means I can see a wider pool of anomalies, because I tend to see the same ones a lot. Minion pool changes. The following minions have been removed from the pool. That is the Cultists of Sathara, Transmuted Bramble Witch, and All-Seeing Elder, all gone, and I'm happy with all of these being removed. They're all fun, they're all good counter or build minions, but they're problematic. Just what they do is fundamentally an issue. First of all, if you take Transmuted Bramble Witch out, you cannot leave Cultists in, because you don't want to see someone with a 20,000 Insatiable Azul, kill it with your Leroy, and then another one pops out or two pop out of the death rattle behind it. So very, very good to see this gone. All-Seeing Elder, I like the idea of it sometimes, but then when it's copying just out of nowhere giant minions, it's way too damn good. So I'm happy with this one being gone. All right, it's time for some minion changes, and we're going to start with a change to young murk-eye. Now, the difference here basically is from a 10-5 before to a 9-6 now. Instead of triggering the battle cries of adjacent murlocs, it's triggering the battle cry of an adjacent minion. Now, I do like this as a nerf to murlocs. Yes, you can only trigger one murloc now. But the problem is you could trigger the battle cry of an adjacent minion of any type. And this has fundamentally always been a problem. So I feel like what they've done here is they've fixed the issue with murlocs to an extent, because now it's only triggering one murloc and not both of them. But now it can trigger anything. So this allows other builds that can be problematic, say blood gems on Quillboard, to suddenly run more out of control if you get an early young murk-eye and you have certain minions. I just don't like the potential of it. That being said, maybe it's nothing, but it seems like every time young murk-eye's been able to trigger the battle cries of any type of minion, it's a big problem. So we'll see. Cold Light Diver got hit with a nerf, and that is not a huge one. Basically, their stat line is now a 1-1 instead of a 3-1, which is a pretty big nerf stat-wise, because a tier 3 minion that's a 1-1 does kind of suck, but it's still going to give you that Battlecry Death Rattle of a spell, so it does remain completely viable as a cycle card, just not as something you ever really wanted to have on your board, and really, it never super was anyway, but making it one attack certainly makes me not like this on my board that much. Look out, Lost City Looter got hit with a bat. They went from tier 3 to tier 4, but now they're a 5-5, and at the end of your turn, get a random bounty like before, but they jumped up to tier 4. I really like this at tier 3. The better stat line, it fits, because I feel like some of the bounties are too good to have this at tier 3, but I'm also not exactly sure how I feel about this on tier 4. I mean, obviously, it's still going to work because those bounties are very good, but if I triple into this, it doesn't feel as good as if I hit other tier 4 minions. But it's got a 5-5 stat line now, so we'll play some games. We'll see. Peggy got a little nerf buff, but that's only so much that she lost 1 of attack, and now she's on tier 3, doing the same thing. Honestly, Peggy is one of those cards that I feel like the earlier you get it, the better. If you triple into a 3 and you did happen to hit a Peggy and you have a pirate, it's not a bad combo that early. And I feel like finding it later makes it feel kind of useless. So I'm not going to complain. I kind of like Peggy right where she is now. We'll see. Eternal Knight got nerfed and buffed at the same time also. Now is a 3-1 instead of a 4-1, but now every time an Eternal Knight dies, it gives a 3-1 buff to all other Eternal Knight's Aurora. So not bad. I mean, I don't love this minion at the best of times. I just don't think it really works as well anymore, but maybe this makes it more relevant. I mean, it's always good when you're playing Lich King and there's two of them in the shop on turn 3, but that aside, I'm never super excited to see this minion, so Oronimos the Wilted. This poor thing changes all the damn time. And I think that's because it's just never really relevant. I have seen it win exactly once, and it was just a couple days ago, and it was actually quite good. But this person hit the absolute nuts on everything being reborn when he hit it, and he hit it early. And now, instead of being a tier 6, it's a tier 5. Instead of being a 3/8, it's a 2/8, and it gives 2 attack whenever an undead minion is reborn to your undead wherever they are. So you can get it earlier, and if you have a bunch of reborn, very viable. Currently, undead have not worked, but with the other changes and this coming earlier, maybe we can bump undead enough to make them relevant, at least a little bit. Speaking of minions flip-flopping tiers and whatnot, Noisel of the Many Faces, back to tier 6, now a 3/9. You know, when you summon an undead, give your undead +3/+2 permanently. Still never excited about this minion, ever. Maybe now I will be. Maybe I'm just so biased against them now because they've been bad for so long that I don't even want to try it. But if I get it early enough, maybe, hopefully not. There's just other things I'd rather play. Carapace Razor, going back to trying to be a problem for everybody, is gonna be on tier 4 again. That was never a problem. Maybe it won't be this time. Maybe this time it'll be fine. There's other changes, so maybe it works. Catacomb Crasher got buffed a little bit, goes from being a 5/10 to a 6/10, and now gives a 2/1 buff to your undead whenever you try to summon minions that won't fit. So it has definitely been buffed. It's still at tier 5. It's got a little more attack. I haven't seen Catacomb Crasher get a first in forever. I've gotten a couple second places, but it never feels competitive. Any of the big tribes that are doing really well, you have this. It's just not much you can do. I'm hoping all these changes add up to where they're viable. Fireforged Evoker got a big buff. Used to be an 8/5, now it's a 9/6, but start of combat, give your dragons +1/+1 after you cast a tavern spell. Improve this. The difference there is it used to be your other dragon, so it never buffed itself. Now it buffs itself. I'm not sure about this one because every single time I play this minion, it never really performs great. I mean, if you hit it super early and you find a bunch of spells, you're still kind of looking at second place with this thing, so I don't know, but it's at least buffed, and at least now it'll buff itself, so maybe there's some hope. Fauna Whisperer got a buff that I didn't think it needed, but maybe the data shows it does, and it used to be a 3/8 at the end of your turn, cast Natural Blessing on the minion to the left of this, but it is now a 4/9 at the end of your turn, cast Natural Blessing on adjacent minions. And that's what the gold version used to do. It's buffing both sides. Now the gold version is going to cast it twice on adjacent minions. I don't really feel like Fauna Whisperer needed this buff. I've had really good luck in my games where I've gotten it. Obviously you need to buff spells with it too, but I'm guessing the data said it needed it, but we'll see. Goldrin the Great Wolf, desperately trying to be relevant, is now going to be a 6/6. Death Rattle for the rest of this combat. Your beasts have +6/6. This one is just keep nudging it a little closer. They're always getting closer to a cliff, right? Because you're going to hit a certain number that eventually makes it crazy good, where no one can win. I don't think that's the number with this, but eventually when you tick it up high enough, it won't just be relevant anymore. It'll be dominant. Maybe it's getting there. Maybe we finally will have the return of Goldrin. I don't expect so, but maybe. Lord of Ruins got nerfed a little tiny bit, and it's basically the only difference now is it gives +2/+1 whenever a friendly minion deals damage. Used to be a +2/+2 buff. They took down the health by 1. We'll see. They've done some other nerfs to this build, so it might make it more viable. I'm still not going to enjoy this build when I have to run into it, but it's not going to have as much punch, that's for sure. Spell changes. Azurite Empowerment got nerfed, but did it? Because it used to be give your minions +3/+3 twice. It is now give your minions +2/+2 twice. But that isn't really the problem with Azurite Empowerment. The problem is when you've buffed it. The more you buff this spell, the crazier the value is. Young Murk-eye still works with this. It seems to be the same thing with a -1/-1 buff to it. I mean, it is a nerf, but does it really matter? Because I feel like it doesn't. All right, now we got a couple of hero updates. First, we got Thorum Stormlord. Choose your champion. It used to cost 60 gold to get your tier 7 minion. It's now 55 gold. And remember, it originally was 65 gold. So they keep knocking it down. So I'm guessing Thorum's not doing very well, but I still see a lot of Thorum. So it's one of those heroes I think people are picking all the time. They're just not performing that well. So it makes sense they're reducing the cost. We'll see. I mean, I like playing Thorum, so I'm certainly interested to see how it works. Kerrigan getting smacked with the nerf bat a little bit. They're basically their pool upgrades now cost more. So the old spawning pool used to cost 6, it will now cost 7, and the evolution chamber used to be 8, now it's 9. They're just trying to make it a little harder for you to get those, and I feel like that's a big difference. And to balance that off, they also did buff one of the forms, and that is Mutalisk. It used to be when you killed an enemy minion, you get 1 attack permanently. Now it is going to be +3 attack permanently, so maybe we'll see more Mutalisks flapping about. I must say, I never take this thing. There's almost a better version of it than this, so this is a good change. Artanis is getting some buff on his minions you can discover with his hero power. First, Carrier goes from used to be Avenge 4, summon a 3/3 interceptor. Now is Avenge 4, summon a 5/5 interceptor. Still with the improve it permanently. That is a good stat difference to start the moment you get that. It does take a little while to get these minions, so that buff being a little more significant does feel a lot better. So Carrier definitely more viable. And Colossus goes from deal 1 damage to target's neighbor, upgrades when you spend gold, is now deal 2 damage to the target's neighbor, upgrades when you spend gold. It's just getting a bigger buff easier. It feels a lot better. So here we go, more Colossus value. Finally, we have some armor changes. I'm not going to go into these. I'm just going to throw them up on the screen for you. They're right here. Take a look, enjoy. Also, once again, link in the description to the patch notes themselves. Now, I gotta say, this patch is necessary. I'm glad it's here for the most part across the board. It is phenomenal changes. I'm a little concerned about Murlocs. Hey, if you like these videos, please like and subscribe. We've got some more shakeups coming to the channel soon. I know I've done quite a few in the last like 6 months, but keep an eye because we've got some more fun things coming, I think, for the Battlegrounds very soon. Folks, I don't know what next season is going to bring. I have no clue. I have no insider information. I'll tell you one thing I am. It's excited to see whatever the changes are. Thanks for watching all. I'll catch you in the Battlegrounds. Until then, have a good one. Later.